Hi, I'm Todd Henderson. Today I want to show you how to install the Gator FX5 hard folding cover on this 2014 and up body style Silverado and Sierra. Now this is the 5.8 bed, but it's the same install for the 6.5 and the 8-foot bed. Let's go ahead and get started. Now I've already gone ahead and installed the bulkhead seal. It's very important before you install this seal to wipe down the bulkhead with some rubbing alcohol, get it completely free of any kind of dirt and grime. Then when you stick it to the bulkhead, you want to make sure it's as far away from the cab as possible, still on top of the bulkhead. Next, we're going to go ahead and install the rails. Now, I'm going to install the passenger side rail. You're going to do the exact same steps for the driver's side as well. Now, before I get started, I want to make sure that I have the drain tube connected and that it's ready to go out the side of the truck. Now, this is a Silverado. Sierra is the exact same way. This has got a bed rug installed. So if it did not have a bed rug installed, back here I've got a little access point, or I could pop that out and run the drain tube through there. I could also, if this was a drop-in bed liner, usually there's a big hole right here. I could drop the drain tube and run out the hole. What I like to do with the drain tubes on the Silverado with the bed rug is I'll take the tube and I'll actually shorten that tube a little bit, stuff it down into the bed rug, and then just attach the rail to the bed cap. What that does is that just kind of puts any kind of water in between the bed rug and the bed. Now I go ahead and hang the rail on top of the bed cap. When I do that, I'm going to push the drain spout into the drain tube and place it on top of the bed cap. Now, this is the passenger side rail. We've got an aluminum tab that's sticking out towards the front, and it actually hangs on top of the bed cap. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that it's pulled all the way towards the bulkhead to where the seal on the front of it is actually pushing up against the sheet metal. If this was a drop-in bed liner, I may have to trim around that bed liner, or at least close the tailgate, make sure that it's pushed all the way up to where the tailgate can close against the back of the rail without contacting that. Next, we're going to go ahead and install a clamp. Now what we're going to do is we're going to loosen that clamp up to where it can open and close. We're going to install it as far forward towards the cab on the rail as possible. Now, one thing is very important, the grooves in the clamp need to marry up properly with the grooves in the rail. I'm going to slide this up in here, and I'm going to make sure that it's seated, slide as forward as possible, then I'm going to tighten it by hand, holding it in place. Once I've got it tightened by hand, I'm going to take a 9/16 wrench or ratchet, tighten it until it just starts to barely grab. Then I'm going to pull it, make sure it's all the way forward, and then pop down on it to seat the seal against the bed cap. Once that's seated, I'm going to go ahead and finish tightening the clamp. Don't over tighten it, then I can move to the next clamp. Now my second clamp I'm going to put towards the center of the rail. Now this is the 5.8 bed, so I'm going to go on a little bit further away from this hump in the center. If this was a 6.5 foot bed, I'd probably be on the other side because it's a little bit longer, and that'd be more centered over there. But here we go. I'm going to go ahead and slide it up in place. Again, very important, make sure the grooves in the clamp are married into the grooves in the rail. Put that in finger tight, slide it up, tighten it down just a little bit. We're not getting it super snug at this point. And remember, very important, you want to set that rail, and then you can finish tightening it down. Now the last clamp, we want to install that as close to the tailgate as possible. What we're going to do, there again, slide that in there, make sure that it's married into the grooves, and then slide it back as far as it'll go. You're going to have something obstruct and not let you go any further. That's where you want to stop. There again, you get it just to where it's snug. Now what we're going to do, we're going to come back about here and seat that rail back here. This is where we want it to seat. If it seats here, it seats the entire way along the rail. And then we can go ahead and finish tightening it down. All right, so now your prop rod is just going to snap onto this ball stud and then hang into the bracket. So snap it in place, and it's all done. Now before we install the cover on the rails, we need to install our clip receivers onto the cover. Now we've got two of them, one for each side. What we're going to do is we're going to pull the cover back, fold the cab panel forward. We're going to see a couple of holes here in the top of the cab panel and on the other side as well. Underneath, another pair of holes. We're going to take our clip receiver and put a couple of provided bolts down through there. Now we've got some threaded backers. When we line it up, we're going to make sure the bolts sink down into the holes. Make sure the opening of the clip receiver faces to the rest of the cover away from the cab. We're going to get the threaded backers started. I'm going to tighten it down with a Phillips head screwdriver. We're going to do that on both sides. Now we're going to go ahead and set the cover onto the rails we just installed. Cab panel is going to come down over top of the bulkhead seal. Now once we have that in place, we're going to install our elevator bolts. This is the elevator bolt assembly. We're going to take that apart. All right, we're going to remove the star knob, lock washer, flat washer, and one rubber washer. Set those to the side. Leave one rubber washer on the elevator bolt, run it through the hole, and actually goes down through the aluminum tab that's attached to the rail. We're going to insert both elevator bolts and then attach the hardware underneath. Now we're going to take our lock washer, flat washer, and rubber washer and run them up over top of that elevator bolt, holding it in place. And then we can attach our star knob, just get it started. We're not going to tighten it down at this time, we still have to adjust the cover. All right, now to align the cover, we're going to fold each panel down one at a time. As we fold them down, we're going to make sure they're centered in between the rails and shift them side to side if necessary. Once we've got them centered, we're going to fold them very gently back towards the cab to make sure we do not shift our alignment. And then we can reach underneath and tighten down our star knobs. Now we don't want to over tighten these, we just want to get them nice and snug. All right, now to see where we're going to install the 3 rubber bumpers, we're going to go ahead and rotate the cover up to where it contacts the cab. Now it's going to contact right in the center, so we're going to rotate it back. Now we're going to install this bumper not on the rubber hinge, but just below the rubber hinge on that aluminum surface. And be very careful not to touch that adhesive. Also, you want to rub down the surface that we're going to be sticking this to with some rubbing alcohol to remove any kind of grime so you can have a great adhesion. Now we're going to go ahead and test the operation of the cover. We're going to fold each panel back. I'm going to lock into place. Now before you close the last panel, you want to first close the tailgate. You have a sticker in place that reminds you to do that. Well, that concludes the installation. If you have any questions, call the experts. We're here to help you out.